by taking their ARVs to suppress their viral loads. Mutweri Eliud, KUTV.
Right, that story by Eliud Mutweri will be setting the stage for this particular discussion. We are talking about matters to do with stigmatization and how best can we actually advance the agenda to a zero HIV stigma in the society. And of course, joining me in the discussion is Honorable Nelson Osiemo, HIV and AIDS Tribunal of Kenya board member, and we'll be talking about some of the issues, including the prevalence that continue to skyrocket among the teenager between the age of 10 to 19 in relation to the stigma that we have just been witnessing going on in the country, owing to this particular report that we have been given by Eliud Mutweri, and that discussion is now taking stage. Remember, we invite you to be part of this discussion. You can talk to us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, we are live on KUTV, that is on YouTube at KUTV Kenya. You can tweet us at KUTV_Kenya at Auma Evans. Remember to use the hashtag Primetime News. Well, Nelson,
yes.
Asante sana for making time.
Thank you.
Well, when I was going through the statistics about these issues to do with stigma, it's rather disturbing. And this begs the question, will we ever, win this war? It's not that I'm trying to be the devil's advocate, but when you look at the prevalence and even the statistics, it's worrying.
Evans, is true. We are still very far away from winning it due to the stigma associated with the people who are living with or affected by the disease. So as the Tribunal, HIV AIDS and Tribunal in Kenya, we are in place and mandated under the legislation to look into the issues of stigma, to look into the issues that really affect the people who are affected or infected by the virus. So from where we sit, we are making some strides, but it will take a long time to reach where we need to be.
All right. Well, what would you attribute to actually, the rise of cases of stigma? I mean, it is 21st century. There have been campaigns against creating awareness about HIV. We have seen some sensitizations, and still it's like we are making one step forward, two steps backward. What could be the reason? Why are we not progressing in this journey?
The reason that I will tell you is the way you contact this disease.
Okay.
So people always associate this disease with one being an immoral person.
All right.
So that's why there is so much stigma. You remember you had COVID that is still with us. When it started, because people really didn't know the causes of that COVID and how it was spreading, there was that stigma that that guy has COVID.
All right.
So we cannot shake the hand and do other things. But almost 38 years since we first discovered the disease in Kenya, the stigma associated with the person infected or living with HIV is still high because people associate that person who got that HIV is an immoral person. He got it through being an immoral, being adulterous. But you and me know various ways of getting the virus. It's not only about one being immoral.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and we'll talk about ways of getting the virus. But now that you have mentioned, it has been over 30 years since this disease was discovered in Kenya. There has been efforts to try and create the awareness, but it seems like yes, we acknowledge there is effort, and we can't say that the campaign and all this effort has not bear any fruits. We have seen some cases where actually people are taking up the challenge and the mantle. But how do we face the elephant in the room now that we know the problem where it is? How do we face it? And this comes from from your point of view as member of the tribunal. How do we face the elephant in the room?
Actually, we're facing it even now because we're discussing it.
Okay.
The more you discuss it, the more the information is out there. That's the aspect of educating the masses.
Okay.
Number one, on how one can be exposed to contracting HIV. And now, after you've been exposed, that this is not nowadays a killer disease, that you can live your full life with the virus in you, but you must adhere to the drugs, the therapy that you've been given. And thirdly, on how not to transmit it to people who don't have it. So the more we talk about it, the more I've seen the future before us, the more people open up that, hey, I see people say I'm living positively with the virus. So people know, okay, we can live with it positively. So even people can come out to share their stories. The moment we suppress the positive stories from our communities, then stigma issues will still arise.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, do you think, have we done enough in this fight?
Oh, yes. The government of Kenya has done enough. The tribunal that was, we started our mandate in 2009. This is the third tribunal under that act. We have been hearing and determining cases that come before us on issues of violations.
All right.
So you've been violated because somebody has disclosed your status without you giving consent. You have a right to come to the tribunal, and we can fine and give compensation. You're being discriminated because of the virus, either in school, either in employment, at workplace. You can come to the tribunal. So we are doing as much as we can to sensitize people, the communities around, that there is a law that is in place that really protects and takes care of these vulnerable people. And this is the only tribunal, not in Africa, but in the world.
All right.
Yes.
Even before we come to the functions of the tribunal, you mentioned about the information being out there, and according to, this was a statistic that was done by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and we have some sort of, understanding of what is happening, because it is estimated that 84% of women knows about, the causes and the prevention of the HIV. Same to 86% of men, they know the causes and the prevention. Well, when you have, and the majority from the age bracket, it's slightly the average of the, let's say, the youth, that because that category falls between 20 to 34. Now, this is the large bracket that is being targeted outside there. You have the information, but you're not acting upon the information. Is it lack of ignorance, or, is it ignorance of what is happening?
I really can't say there's ignorance, because there's so much information about how you can contract and how you can spread HIV.
Okay.
It's just about being individual, being human. That sometimes you know something, but you still you care less about it. Information is there. Everywhere people talk about it, but you believe that you are not able to get it. That this is a disease that belongs to other people. So I'm not able to contact it. So you live carelessly. So that age bracket are the most active people, actually sexually active. So that will ring last in their minds. What will firstly ring in their heads is that, am I going to get pregnant? Number one will not always getting diseases. They will tell you, will I get pregnant? Are you safe? They never discuss that, are you safe yourself from any diseases? Have you tested? Because looking at you, I cannot know whether you're sick. We must get tested first. Yes.
Well, now talking about testing, still there is a research done, and it's actually out of those that were the survey was done, it's 47% actually that turn out for this testing. Now, when you have a population, let's say like ours, Kenya, where we have like let's say 50 plus million people, and only roughly 47 getting tested, is this where we are actually missing the point, or is there a need to actually turn out to get tested and know your status?
It's actually important for you to get tested and know your status, so that you can start proper living. Okay? Because we normally say you are sick until you are tested not sick. Okay? So you must get tested first to know and even to protect people around you. You might be sick and you don't know, and you think you are okay, and you are the one now transmitting it. So it is important that you test and actually know your status.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now that we are talking about, the stigma and how to fight the stigma, because one step, of, actually fighting this is self-realization. You have first to accept that it is there, and before you actually, embrace it outside there and open the doors for even others to create a window whereby you can actually share and trust that this is a process that we have, it's something that we have to live with it. Just how important is it, for one to actually acknowledge that, yes, this is a condition that I have and I have to live in this certain way?
Acceptance is one of the best way of healing yourself. The moment you have accepted even your weakness in life, that I'm weak in this way,
okay,
there is a way you are able to go about trying to suppress your weakness.
All right.
Only making the strength to come out.
Okay.
The moment you accept that you are living with the virus, number one, you will be responsible not to spread it.
Okay.
Number two, that you will be responsible to be taking the therapy as and when it's given.
All right.
The moment that is done, you are protecting the community.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, now let's talk about now the tribunal where you sit in, and we have seen, the tribunal was formulated in 2009, and it came to effect after the adoption of HIV and AIDS prevention control. Then tribunal's role is to determine complaint arising from, any breach that you spoke about. Well, so far, what are some of the, key areas that you are actually tackling as far as the war, or rather, creating awareness and sensitization as far as ending stigma is concerned?
Our mandate under the tribunal is fourfold, if I can say. Number one is disclosure.
All right.
So somebody will go to a healthcare clinic, you get tested, and without your consent, it is disclosed. So that is a violation under the Act. Number two is testing without consent. You normally go to the hospital when you are feeling sick because you want to get better, and the doctor says, give me your hand, I draw some blood. Have you ever asked yourself, what are you going to investigate with my blood? Okay? So that is the point, because you are a vulnerable person, you are sick, you want to get well. So the doctor pricks your hand, get your blood sample, goes back to the lab, you are not there, and maybe slides it in various slides.
All right.
And one of them is testing for your HIV. The law says, before you are tested for HIV, you must consent to it. And after consenting to it, they must give you what you call pre- and post-counseling. Okay? So those are violations. Number one is the violation on disclosure. Number two is testing without consent. Number three is discrimination.
All right.
Whether at workplace, wherever. As long as somebody knows your status and is discriminating you because of your status, you can come to the board.
All right.
And it's a tribunal. We hear cases, we are so not rigid, we really don't use the Evidence Act to lock you out. You can even write a complaint, we'll reduce it to a statement of claim, and we will hear you.
All right.
And our turnaround time is 60 days.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll give you 30 seconds for your closing remarks.
So what I can say is that the HIV and AIDS Tribunal, where we sit together with other 6 people, we are a creature of a legislation, and we are there. This is the only tribunal in the world that cares for people living and affected by HIV.
Okay.
So if you feel you are discriminated, if you feel that your status has been unlawfully disclosed without your consent, if you feel that you have been tested without your consent, you can come to the tribunal and we will hear your case without even your pictures being seen, without being a name being known. Of course, we'll initialize your name and we will give you compensation against those violations.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, that is where we leave it as for now. That is Honorable Nelson Osieme, HIV and AIDS Tribunal of Kenya board member. Asante sana for making time.
Thank you.
And your time is much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, here we take another short break. When we come back, we'll be diving direct